Right, your brain in 2020 is the subject for today's webinar, and we will be discussing the next level of consciousness, which ultimately it is all about, and the challenges, opportunities, and strategies around it. Obviously, I am Mercedes Oestermann-Van Essen. I'm a trader and trading performance coach. Most important thing here before we go into the webinar is the risk disclosure. Please read the risk disclosure on mentalstrategies.com on the risk disclosure page. Right, little bit about me. I trained at Commerzbank and realized very soon that a career in banking wasn't really for me. And I got into coaching at quite an early age, really working with military personnel in seminars in Germany, which was great fun time. Since 2001, I have traded my own account and have coached professional and independent traders since around 2005, 2006, something like that. And really, it's all about helping people to improve their mental game and trade better. My coaching focuses on merging the three-dimensional world of neuroscience, the science of quantum physics, with the esoteric teachings of the wisdom traditions. And in the process, I've done a lot of personal development and studied energetic NLP, Huna and Zen Buddhism. I'm a certified EFT practitioner and theta healer and other things along other things. So that gives you a little bit of background about me. We will be discussing what is going to drive the epochal paradigm shift in 2020 beyond brain coherence and what really is in store for your trading mind in the coming year, and the number one challenge of your trading life, which is not going to be what you think it is. It will impact your trading mind, absolutely no doubt about it. We'll go into the Alice in Wonderland, which is a technique and which a lot of people use without realizing it. Well, the next proverbial crash, and then we'll talk about epigenetics. Right, the eternal dream. Well, we all have a dream, of course. Well, the times are changing, and they are not just changing because you are changing, but our entire living environment is undergoing a major evolutionary shift. And because of this shift, how you see the world is changing, and it really cannot possibly be any other way, as you will see. What you think and what you do in the next 12 months will impact your life for a long, long time going forward, over the next 12 to 20 years and beyond. This is why I'm talking about an epochal change. It will go on for the next 20, 30, 40, possibly 100 years. Difficult to say because of where we are right now in the big scheme of things. So now 2020 in a nutshell. Let's just go in a larger overview of what is in store. So we'll start with the astrology of things. And from an astrological point of view, in the markets as well as environmentally, we are in for more volatility and many quick shifts. So don't expect this to be a slow, straightforward, gentle trajectory of trends, which you can keep following with your eyes half closed. It's not going to be like this. The Chinese year of the Rat, due to start on the 25th of January, advises caution with financial matters once more. It was the same this year. We are at the beginning of a 12-year astrological cycle from the Chinese horoscope, but we are also at the apex of the 25,920 year cycle. So, these are two interesting convergences here, plus other cycle convergences, which are all happening together. We have a number of planets all lining up, which are making for a very, very powerful impact on the Earth and our atmosphere, of the environment at large. The energetic shift can be felt anywhere. It is hugely intense, as you probably all know, and it can feel at times rather uncomfortable unless you are mentally prepared and properly equipped to deal with this. And this is, of course, what we are going to talk about here. Now, the Earth's core is increasingly unstable. There is plenty of scientific research on this. We have known that this period was coming for the last probably 30 years or so, yet from a scientific, purely scientific perspective, scientists don't really know exactly what is causing this. In fact, we can derive much clearer insights, all of which are now being confirmed by the by scientific research, the latest scientific research, but we can get much more clear insights from the wisdom traditions about what is happening here. So we cannot ignore the one thing. In fact, we have to look at both, and together they can help us get a clearer picture and also forge a cause with both the mental and the spiritual side weaved together into one big coherent thing. The shifts of the Earth's energy grid, the ley lines and the magnetics and the portals inside the Earth as well as in the atmosphere around the Earth and beyond, the cosmic atmosphere I'm talking about here, and ever increasing Schumann wave spikes are wreaking havoc with our brains, and you will see what I mean by this. It also, this fact alone also contributes to weather instability. We have an increasing weather instability cycle upon us, which is going to continue into 2020. It's partially due to humans, absolutely no doubt about it. However, let's not lose sight of the fact that it is also part and parcel of something much, much bigger going on here. So we can't just say, you know, it is all due to what humans are doing. It's not. Right. This is a picture that speaks, if you like, louder than 1,000 words. I think I've jumped ahead of myself here a little bit. Let's just go back. It's not right. Sorry about this. No, that's right. That's a picture which I have taken from the Russian Space Observatory of the Schumann waves, and it's you know, the different amplitudes and frequencies of the recent few days. And as you can see here, this is what we call the Schumann wave spikes. The Schumann wave has got a direct impact on our brains at large and on the functioning of our entire mind-body matrix. The whole thing is completely inclusive, and of course it includes the environment. So I will share with you a bit later on an experiment which will make all this very clear. Suffice it to say, it seems just like the markets. You can see the same thing in the markets happening at the moment. Things sort of moving on, long periods of nothing happening, and then suddenly, whoomph, a spike happens. And that is very much the energy we are dealing with, which permeates everything. So we have old questions which are demanding new answers because we are operating in a new environment here. And the obvious question everybody is asking, and it is at the root of absolutely everything, that is the question, who are you? And who we are, what we are, how we are expressing ourselves is changing. It's massively, massively changing from the old views which have held sway for hundreds and hundreds, well, actually thousands of years in varying degrees. So what if I told you that the human being you see basically is a complete illusion? And this illusion is stopping you from embracing the new reality and handle the changes with greater elegance, more inner confidence, instead of fear and guilt and dread, which is the domain of present thinking all round. We are living in limitation. 2020 vision, note 2020 vision here, seeing everything with clarity, will strip away the old templates of life as new frequencies become normal. In fact, they are already normal, if you like, and there is no coincidence that we are looking at 2020 and the cycles in astrology and beyond. It's all one and the same thing. You simply cannot make a distinction from one thing or another. Compartmentalization is over. So let's look at our evolution. This is the old picture. We have been told a slow evolution of the human being, and this is obviously where we believe we are now. You know, we are getting out of bed, going to work, doing the same old things, you know, iPhone in one hand, briefcase, computer in the other. That's reality today, whatever you do. Trader, investor, entrepreneur, I really don't care. It's the same. That's the immersion we are finding ourselves in. Your evolution basically is a total lie. Here are some facts. You did not evolve as the history books are still telling us. In fact, 200,000 years ago, humans showed up fully equipped. 200,000 years ago, humans were basically pretty much as they are today. Not much has changed, consciousness-wise and physically wise. We have been pretty much like we are today. Our brains then were already five times the size of a chimp. We did not come from the chimp. Humans are fully equipped to handle any situation. That's a fairly recent discovery on analyzing our DNA and looking at chromosomes, really, which is another way of saying looking at our inherent blueprint. So the thing is, all the programs are there to help us survive, to handle any challenge we may have. They only need to be activated. Question is, how do we activate them? In recent years, sophisticated buildings, which are over 100,000 years old, have been discovered on Earth, underwater, and also on other planets. If you go to the NASA website, you will see quite a few things. I also refer you to Graham Hancock's very interesting research on the subject, and you know, there is plenty to research on this if you're interested. Recently, this has happened in the last couple of months or so, I think. A carbon test discovered a forest that is over 300 million years old. So what is the conclusion of this? Really, you are not lacking in anything. Everything has been around for way, way longer than we have been told, and way, way longer than our history goes back to. And there is a cycle in place for us to have potentially a really wonderful and magical life. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about that. Right. So the question is basically this: what's it to be in 2020? The same old shit all over again. I love this slide. I showed it in a previous presentation because this is how we're operating. You know, we get out of bed in the morning. Oh God, it's the same all over again and again. Or is it going to be a little bit like this, just how the markets have been of late, and how the markets are when you look at the bigger picture? When I say the bigger picture, going back over 100 years or so, this is the trajectory. Oh, are we going to be stuck? It's going to be very, very difficult to remain stuck going forward. Well, the reason being is this: you were not designed to be here and work hard, pay the bills, and die. I think what I've shared with you on that earlier chart screen here, sorry, was it this one here? Let's just go back. This one here, just refer you back to this. We have come here 200,000 years ago, fully equipped. We know this. There is no conjecture here. We know this. So don't try to argue with me on this one. So, okay, let me ask you, do you still believe that life is hard work if you want to succeed and there is no other option? That it is competitive, that it is about survival? That means you're having to use your brain to remain real. It's all about reality, analyzing the facts, figuring out how to do things. Let's compare, let's go backwards and forwards on the internal trajectory. This is how we have believed we have to operate in order to create success, haven't we? So we also having to figure out how to protect ourselves and our families from the next market downturn and from the next disaster, haven't we? I mean, if you see at the moment all the market forecasts which are out, it's all about how to protect yourself from the next disaster. And then there is this big thing in this world of chaos and turmoil and seeming massive, ever-increasing aggression. You have to stand up for what's right, and you have to fight against what is wrong. That's the world, guys, we have been living in. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You mean you do it all the time on autopilot without realizing it. What if all these paradigms are completely wrong? And wrong they are. So if we accept the premise that this way of being is wrong, it's outdated thinking. So what could we do instead? Could we perhaps open ourselves up to becoming inspired in spite of what the media and all the gurus are chucking down our brains and our throats and our bodies about how terrible things are, and that there is no solution? I mean, it's a false paradigm. For every challenge, the solution is already built in. Remember that other slide I showed you at the beginning, where we now know we are fully equipped. We have everything. We are not lacking in anything. The intelligence that created us has given us everything we need. So what if you could learn from everyone you ever met in your life, from every situation, even those situations and the people you don't like? What if you stopped being in victimhood and accepted yourself as the co-creator of your life? That's a big one. Huge, huge, huge. What if you learn to use your brain in alignment with the new higher energies? And that's our challenge. It's the biggest challenge. What if you learned to live in the vision of plenty? I know that's alien. And in alignment with divine mind, also alien. What if you learn to receive the answers instead of front-running the answers, just like you are front-running your trading? A lot of you are doing this all the time. I know that. I've worked with quite a few of you to know how it works. And hey, I've worked with myself. I know what I used to do for a long, long time. So what if instead you stopped judging, comparing, blaming, over-analyzing, fewer indicators? I have to say that every time I do a presentation, and stop over-analyzing everything, the charts, your life, and whatever else presents itself, and particularly stopping doing this when things are not as you want them to be or as you expect them to be. Now, wouldn't that make for a very different world? And I know it's very, very challenging to go there because we are so married in the darkness. Well, in 2020, the #1 challenge for your brain will be the dawning of light. I love this picture because it shows so clearly, here we are, they are the clouds of chaos, the cloud of darkness. Then there is something else coming up. Many, many dark pools here, pun intended. And there is, little us knowing that something else is possible, but we aren't quite there yet. And there is this constant tug of war that's going on in our minds, and there is reason for it. It'll become clear very, very shortly. So, okay, the big shift basically is that we are moving into more light as a galaxy at large. We are moving into more light in our solar system, and the Earth itself literally is receiving more light. This is also a very, very physical thing because it takes place at and below the speed of light. We can see it. You can see it. And if you are very observant and you go outside and you look at the quality of the sun, it's very, very different today than it was only 2 years ago. There is a reason for it. We are hovering over the center of the galaxy. This is the convergence I have talked about. In the last webinar, we talked about this, quite a bit. So I'm not going to go over all this again here. The point being is that obviously this fact brings with it many, many challenges, because the old proverb, where there is a lot of light, there is also a lot of shadow. And the shadows, all those things which I've ceased working so well for us, they are being shown up with ever increasing clarity. So because of all this, we are at the apex of a shift. We are sort of right at the pinnacle. This shift has been going on since the 60s. Now we are at the apex, and it's the next 12 months, possibly the next 3 or 4 years will challenge us tremendously, purely and simply because of the volatility. It's the tug of war I'm talking about. It's not bad. It's just we have to learn different tools to navigate this area, because the old stuff is not going to get you anywhere. Fact is, the environment you are living in, it's already changed. It is changing daily, but it has already massively changed from where we were just a couple of years or so ago. So new thinking is mandatory. And here is, in very plain, simplistic terms, why. The environment does not support the old ways of operating anymore. The gap between the frequency that is now hitting the Earth and the old frequency is too big. It can't communicate properly anymore. It's just impossible. And the Schumann wave, we'll talk about this a bit later, is ample evidence of what's going on. Excuse me. The magnetic field is thinning at dramatic speeds. The magnetic field around the Earth is thinning at dramatic speeds. Scientists don't understand quite why, but I think we can throw a very clear light on this from the esoteric perspective. The radio frequency where you receive your information basically has changed. It's just, think of your GPS. It's no different. Same thing. If the GPS coordinates change, the GPS starts roaming. That's exactly what you are doing. Your mind is doing. Your environment, of course, because of all these factors, feels very, very different. And that feels uncomfortable because your GPS hasn't got the new coordinates yet. The new coordinates are also constantly changing. So it's roaming, roaming, roaming. And your mind is still looking to tune into these new frequencies in the new environment, but on the old frequency. That's why the old ways aren't working so well anymore. You know, they are still somewhat working a little bit, but with every day, you know, less and less so. And really, the problem is, or shall we say, fact is, it's not a problem. Fact is, the old frequency, it's just not there anymore. It's gone. It's just not there anymore. That's where we are. And that's the problem. That is really the biggest problem we are dealing with today. So where are we? I've lost my... No, I'm not sorry about this. I'll just go back. What have I done? I've inadvertently moved my thing too far. Sorry about this, guys. Where was I? There. Right, 18. Must be an easier way of doing it. Yes, there is actually. Stupid is what stupid does, guys. So, okay, normalcy bias. Be aware. Normalcy bias refers to the mind having great difficulty accepting change and having created what I call a decoy. And that decoy is fooling itself to thinking that the abnormal is normal. For example, a great example is something we know from psychology, that when people who have been violated in some form, or people who have been abducted, you know, been under really extreme circumstances, they try to befriend the perpetrator of the crimes against them. Now, that's a very bizarre thing to be doing, because the mind cannot grasp the fact that, hey, something fundamentally, materially has changed. So the mind will do any old thing to pretend it's normal. And this is precisely what people are doing now. This is why we are going back thinking, oh no, that worked yesterday. I had proof of this. I know it worked. It's got to work again. As I said, the old frequencies are not there anymore. They've gone. Oh, forget it. It's, you know, what does the mouse say? Trapped in the cheese trap? They are off. That's where we are. So your body, of course, is a feedback instrument of your thinking, and that's also trapped in the past. Feelings of discomfort, feelings of unease. There are very strange illnesses around, which had never ever been around. This is all part and parcel of the seeming inability of the mind to accept this entirely different environment we are operating in. So, of course, our environment reflects collective thinking from the past to the present, but it does not yet represent the future, because we are all married to the past. And by the way, you know, this idea of being in the present, well, that's all very well and good, but if in the present all you can see, I haven't achieved this yet, and what am I going to do next, and that isn't right, and I have got problems here and problems there, it's no good living in the present. Hence, I think, yes, the present moment is the place where you create and recreate, but it's not the non plus ultra of being. It really is not. Okay, the collective mind, because it doesn't know any better, of course, is afraid of the unknown future. And those of you who know my work will know the reason being is you haven't got any reference points for the future. So humans live in lack, and they have learned to survive in spite of lack. That is the paradigm. That's the paradigm by which the general populace lives, okay, and is still living. So because the immersion is so deep, it's also very, very hard to move beyond this and accept that something else is possible. It feels very dense. It feels as solid or even more solid than the rock. That's the challenge. So if you understood, of course, if there was a way, and there really ultimately, to the best of my knowledge, there is only one way that will get us out of this. Well, would you take action? Well, I do sincerely hope that the answer for all of you is yes. So, right, normalcy bias, beware. That's really, what I am saying here. Whilst you are trapped in the past, you cannot produce a new future, because the new future has got a different energy, and you can't be both in the old energy and in the new energy. Well, you can, but only for a very, very short period of time. And it's going to feel very, very uncomfortable, because the friction is so immense, and it'll make you ill. And this is also, incidentally, one of the reasons why people get suddenly very sick. It's, if you like, sometimes a healing process where the mind cannot handle it anymore. And our creation is so magnificent. It has got a thing in place where, okay, we get ill to shut up the chatter of the monkey mind so that we can reorient. So illness is often designed to help us move to the next level. And if we could see it like this and accepted it, allowed ourselves rest, and dare I say that word, meditated, we would get well much faster, and our lives, how our lives would look also very, very different. So, as I said already, we are afraid of the unknown future. So, what's going on here? I can't move forward for some reason. Life force is sustained through all changes, and that is a little bit of a play on the idea, not on the idea, on what we have proof of now, namely that we have come into this world 200,000 years ago fully equipped. So there are groundbreaking experiments that gives us clues of how to handle the change which is upon us, whilst everything is kind of, a bit uncomfortable and daunting on the face of it all. We have got the solutions. The solutions are here. So now I'm going to share with you an experiment which was carried out in the 60s at the Max Planck Institute by a scientist called Weaver. Now, this experiment is so interesting because it has in it, when we understand it properly, it has in it all the answers, as you will see. So what Weaver did in the 60s, he got some of his students, all volunteers, and asked them to participate in an experiment whereby he was building a Faradian cage and was pumping frequencies into that cage and then removing the frequencies. I am talking namely about the 7.8 frequency, which was discovered by a guy called Schumann a few years earlier. And actually, by the way, Schumann recorded this. It was an accidental discovery he made. And he thought, oh, yes, this is very, very interesting. But Schumann himself, by the way, did not understand how incredibly powerful this experiment was. It was actually Weaver who took the understanding and the meaning of the Schumann wave to the next level. And that was later on in the 90s proven by the scientist and Nobel Prize winner Luc Montagnier. So anyway, Weaver got his students, they were all young, by the way, all volunteers, as I said, to go into this Faraday cage, and to begin with, everything was fine. They measured 7.83 Schumann waves, and of course, as you know, there are harmonics of this, and everything is fine. Then they switched the Schumann wave off. Now, this is where things started getting very, very uncomfortable. The guys were beginning to feel ill. They were beginning to display mentally very dysfunctional behavior. So the moment the 7.83 hertz frequency was pumped back into the Faraday cage, things gradually return to normal. Now, this is precisely what is happening today on the earth. I have already referred you to the analogy of the brain operating like a GPS. You have the GPS has coordinates. If it knows the coordinates, everything is tickety. It functions. We know the world. We understand the world. We have got a plan. We can follow the plan. We know what to do. The moment the coordinates are gone, we are in no man's land. And this is exactly what Weaver's experiment proved. Now, here was another interesting experiment, not that well known, like the Weaver experiment, incidentally, is not that well known, that was carried out by Luc Montagnier when in 1990, I don't know, was it 91 or 96? Don't quote me on this one. Now, what he did, he had a little tube, and the tube had frequencies pumped into it, and the idea was to see how life force actually is created. Until Montagnier's experiment, it was assumed that life force needs to be, well, that life needs to be present. In other words, DNA needs to be present in order for life to be created. Well, guess what he found? The moment he put the 7.83 hertz into that tube, in the absence of DNA, new life began to form. So this proves very clearly to us that the underlying essence of well-being, of harmony, is the 7.8.3 frequency and its harmonics. It's very important to understand the importance of the harmonics. They are coming into this very much. So, and here is a clue. As we move from the Hertz frequency and its harmonics, the Schumann frequencies, to brain coherence and beyond, that beyond is love and above. So why am I saying this? Well, you'll see in a moment why. Brain plus heart power is the ultimate power. It's been the biggest scientific discovery in the last 10 years, and I have to stress scientific discovery because it's been proven in many studies, not only by the HeartMath Institute. There are now quite a number of peer-reviewed studies that prove when the brain and the heart are in coherence, well, what shall we say? The world is your oyster. You are not only going to manifest your desires, you will be in coherence in your mind and in your body, and that coherence is so strong that it sends a very powerful field way beyond your body into your auric field. This is, by the way, something we practice in the Meditation Academy every day. You practice it. You would practice it if you listen to the recordings every day, but that's the meditations we do. And the field becomes bigger. It goes out. We don't really know yet how far out it goes. Well, we do if we look at the famous photon experiment, which is beyond this webinar to go into. So what I'm saying here is this: we need to learn brain and heart alignment. That is the next frontier for traders. It's the next frontier for our life, and it is the answer that will help us to ease the chaos we are living in this world at the moment, purely and simply because when we do it, and we do it 24/7, not just a few moments, but learn to do it 24/7, holding this energy, we have got the power to influence our environment. It is that powerful. We know this. Science knows this. I can't stress this often enough. I'm not making this up. So the immense magnetic power of the heart is 5 1,000 times stronger than the brain's magnetic power. That's what we are dealing with here. So this discovery, I could also say, really is our salvation. So, and it's also the fact that the heart's magnetic power is so strong that will counteract the thinning of the Earth's magnetic field. You know, the thinning of the Earth's magnetic field helps us to step into a new kind of power, because the heart is the place of infinite kindness, of infinite compassion, of infinite intelligence, and of infinite understanding, if you like. So when you learn to think from the heart, you are moving way beyond the outside circumstances. When you are learning to think from the heart and the brain together, what is happening here is the brain basically controls all your bodily functions. The brain is the mechanical part that will take your heart's desires, which I might also call divine mind, and turns it into a functional system that works together. That's what we are saying here. That's what we are dealing with. And that's why it is so important to get the two into permanent harmony. And we can learn this. It's nothing else but a learning strategy. And when you learn this, you will be able to become literally self-sufficient, because your own source of energy, your own source of manifestation, if you like, will be way, way bigger than anything else that's going on around the world. So you can do your thing, certain areas of the world will do their thing, but at some point, all the other areas beyond you will also come into alignment. Now, there is one thing that is stopping this happening at the moment. And I will go as far as to say that this is to a large extent being done deliberately, but not entirely deliberately, because we are living in an earth where they are opposing forces. The old establishment is very, very worried of losing control, and they don't like the idea. They, of course, know exactly what is going on Earth. You know, they are not talking about it. They are doing whatever they can to keep the information from the mainstream, and they are pumping things into the field which are not so good for our brain. You know, 5G is one of those things, make no mistake. So Alice in Wonderland was a technique that was developed about 60 or so years ago. It's basically a form of military interrogation, whereby you take the person and pump quick fire questions away at the person, which are totally irrelevant to what it's ultimately all about. And that has the impact on the brain that's constantly analyzing and trying to see sense, to wonder and go into overwhelm because it doesn't understand. Why am I asked irrelevant questions? Is a tulip a tulip? Is it really a tulip? What do you really think it is, a tulip? Why do you think it's a tulip? It is the most important thing. It's that kind of thing. Quick fire questions. Now, when you look at your environment today, this is exactly what is going on around us. I mean, look at the so-called storytelling in the media. It's a very good example. Look at the bombardment we're getting from, yeah, I have to say it again, I can't help myself. You know, what all these so-called gurus are throwing out at you, disaster around the corner, the next market crash for sure is going to happen, and we have proof of this. No, we don't. It's utter BS. BS, by the way, stands for, you know it, belief systems. By the way, most traders, without their conscious knowledge, are trading in the proverbial Alice in Wonderland model. I invite you to think about this. Are you falling into that trap? So anyway, you can come to your own conclusions about this, and suffice it to say, in the modern day environment, we have anything but an empty mind. It's not liked. Believe it or not, that is the simple strategy behind it. So it engenders doubt, fear, disbelief, resistance. The brain is hardwired to resist, resist, resist. That is part of the old survival mechanism, which we have been conditioned to have, not necessarily born with, but conditioned to have. And you know why I'm saying this. Then, of course, there is the fear of being different. When we are at the forefront of a new epoch, if you like, well, somebody has to make the first step. And somebody has to go out into the mainstream and take the ridicule and say, oh, well, that's rubbish, and has to take the chance of being ostracized. So it takes a little bit of courage to step out there. Right. Okay. In summing all this up, your biggest challenge, in a nutshell, is letting go of old beliefs. And they are only beliefs, not reality, not fact. These beliefs are outdated. They are disempowering. And whilst you have to let go of these beliefs, you also have to learn to steadfastly maintain new supportive beliefs in a volatile environment. That is the challenge. That is the challenge in your trading. And that is the challenge in your life in 2020, as we are literally recreating the template. We are reactivating new parts in the template. We are rewriting our genetic blueprint, which brings me to epigenetics. Now, okay, epigenetics, a fairly new science. I first got excited about it 20 years ago, being a great fan of Bruce Lipton. Of course, Bruce Lipton is here in the UK. I loved the man long before he was well known, and of course his groundbreaking insight was that basically beliefs have the power to change our genetic blueprint. Our genetic blueprint is not written in stone. That was Bruce Lipton's biggest discovery, and the way to change it is by changing our beliefs. And how do we change our beliefs? When the beliefs are aligned from the heart with the brain. And that changes gene expression and creates new DNA if done consistently. Okay, meditation to change gene expression. The answer, from my perspective, is a very, very clear yes. But okay, I'm running ahead of myself a little bit here. So the science of epigenetics proves, as I've already said, that you can change gene expression, but you have to, of course, you have to do certain things. Just saying, I'm gonna believe in everything Mercedes does. Well, bless you. I think that's wonderful. And I hope you do, because I sincerely believe that in doing so, we will make a better world much faster and reduce the chaos around us, inside us, and in the entire universe, if you like. But of course, there is a bit more to it, and there is actually, ultimately, there is a formula to it. The formula is called transformational meditation. It's the first step to changing your beliefs, basically. That's what we are saying it. And it's also the first step to remaining in the new energy of the new thinking for longer and longer, until you become that new energy. Because the whole idea of transformational meditation, and this is the thing I was talking about, I called it the Transformational Guided Meditation Academy, where we meditate together every 2 weeks, only for half an hour as a group. But what it does, it gives you a, shall we say, a model on which to operate on a regular basis to remind your brain that it needs to have a new vision. It reminds itself of the new vision, because what we do, the meditations are recorded and you can listen to them daily. And that's obviously what I encourage, that you take every day half an hour to listen to the meditations. And over time, what happens, it rewrites your programming and puts a new imprint on your template. So, okay, is meditation the answer to all your challenges? Well, in a way, the answer is yes, provided you meditate correctly. And I'll say a little bit about what correct meditation is in just a brief moment. As I've said, it's about doing it consistently. Studies show that over a period of approximately 6 months, the right type of meditation has got the potential to change gene expression. And what I'm saying by this is it has got the potential that you are going to act differently. You are going to think differently without having to discipline yourself to do it at that point, because the gene expression has changed. And that's what we are after. That's the power we are looking for. So meditation in a group of like-minded people compounds the effect of the energy exponentially. So that's the next good thing. This is why I encourage doing meditation in a group over just doing it by yourself. Right. So here are the benefits of regular meditation. Your mind obviously slows down. You get rid of the mind chatter. Any form of meditation will do this. The quality of the protein your body produces improves. And we all, well, obviously, protein is the building block of the body. Good protein means better health, more energy, better focus, and so on. You become less attached to outside circumstances. Very important. You become less reactive. That is the effect of becoming less attached to outside circumstances. You feel more energetic, better protein production. You focus better with more clarity and less effort. Your relationship with yourself and also with others improves. That's the effect of the field around you becoming bigger and more powerful. You become kinder to yourselves and others, a beautiful side effect. Less stress. Your trading naturally improves because your internal dialogue improves. So, and here now we are coming to the special offer. Yes, and you're absolutely right. I did spell transformational incorrectly. Yeah, I noticed that as well. You're quite right. It'll have to stay like this now because it's recorded. Okay, quick word to the special offer. I know it's the holiday period. Don't want to go over much. So this offer I'm limiting to 5 people until the 31st of December, bearing in mind that most of you will be listening to the replay. So the offer is basically 6 months transformational meditation academy membership. You can get this on my website. It's the 3rd product down on the product page. And I have decided to offer to 5 people only a private coaching session where we are going to together create a personalized meditation, which is just for you, which will be recorded. We are going to work on your vision, what you want to achieve in 2020, the key thing you want to achieve, and the key challenge you have, which you want to overcome. And we'll identify that together very clearly. And then we will meditate together. So that's merging your energies with my energy. Obviously, it is recorded, and then you will be sent the recording. This is a very, very powerful thing to do in addition to the Meditation Academy. And if you use this, on a regular basis, you know, of course, it's the old thing. You've got to use these tools. You will see positive changes. I cannot exactly tell you what these changes are going to be. Everybody is different, but you will see changes. Right, so that brings the offer to an end. Here is the total value of the offer. If you were to pay for this particular form of creating a personalized meditation separately, by the way, it would cost you $350. So together, I'm offering you something which would cost you $845 if you were to do the two things together. But basically, you are paying for the 6-month membership of the Meditation Academy. As I said, it's recorded. You can keep the recordings. They turn into MP3, so you can also build a nice meditation library here. Right, and the last slide is just basically here my contact details. Obviously, group coaching. I do the group coaching, the Awaken the Inner Master Trader. I do next year. It's a new thing here in the UK. I will be offering in-person retreats, workshops, and then obviously one-on-one coaching, which I do. And any other questions you have, just contact me at mercedesthebuddhisttrader.co.uk, or obviously you can use the contact form on my website. Always happy to hop on a Skype call with you to answer any questions. And, you know, this is basically it for today's webinar. Well, let's make 2020 a wonderful year of transformation. Let's use the volatility that's surely going to continue, and the ever increasing Schumann wave spikes to elevate our entire mind-body matrix to leave wonderful and magical